Good afternoon and welcome to the It's All Greek to Me blog tour. I'm Dr. Paul Kiritsis and this is blog number 17. And today we're going to be continuing with the exercise in active imagination, which we began in the last blog, in blog number 16, with the story. We're in Cnossos and the year is 1645 BCE. Paranaya watched the priestesses closely as they busied themselves about the sacrosanct innermost sanctuary of the Juktas temple. The laborious procedures associated with the ritual had to be enacted with great love, passion, and attention to detail, otherwise the invocation would not work. No doubt the wise one, Aletheia, was to be commended for her brilliance in discerning a method whereby a homologous enterprise would generate a twofold and hopefully favourable consequence. By enacting the human sacrifice and projecting her being into the great hive of the Great Mother Goddess by manner of the stone, Paranaya hoped to propitiate the fuming earth, whilst at the same time evoke the all-omniscient, fiery eye of the lady. The latter was a powerful weapon which would be used mercilessly to subjugate the Red peoples, who, according to the Wise One, were expected to arrive on the shores of Kefchil just after the great conflagration. From where Paranaya stood, she could see that they had cleaned and polished the sacrificial implements. These included a large gilded double axe, a golden labrys, which usually hung inside the north wall of the innermost sanctuary of the mountain shrine, and two bronze knives engraved with heads of winged griffins, one made of stone and the other of copper, both able to slice through flesh and bone with great precision and accuracy. Two blood buckets had been hauled up along the side of the mountain and placed beside the sacrificial victim, a young Essene, who had recently been purified in a lustral basin and then bound tightly to a stone table, itself fashioned to look like a bull. The magic potion, made from the grated powder of the stone, and honey collected from the surrounding forests and caves of Juktas, had been placed inside a small chalice made of copper and engraved with Ukrainia. It was subsequently mounted onto a holder formed by the adjoining arms of a wasp-waisted life-size statue of the Great Mother Goddess, standing near the centre of the sanctuary. Paranaya stared at the veiled goddess for some time, trying to imagine what her face might look like. It was forbidden to lay eyes on any incarnation of her supernal brilliance, animate and ethereal or inanimate and concrete. Paranaya became so transfixed by the black veil that shrouded the statue's head that she didn't notice the priestesses leave the mountain sanctuary and begin their descent along the mountain in a bid to continue the bull sacrifices at Cnossos. Lamentably, the ground began trembling not long after they left. The vibrations themselves emanated from deep within the earth and were more vehement than ever. "We're here," the wise one said, bursting into the sanctuary with her assistant, a priestess named Ida. "We must begin at once." "This time the Earthshaker is serious," said Ida, "and the sacrifices at Cnossos aren't working." "Quick, quick!" the wise one yelled. "Drink the potion, Paranaya." Paranaya snatched the chalice up, itself inlaid with gold, silver and other precious stones. She stared at the opalescent mixture suspiciously. "Drink it now," the wise one screamed. "We haven't a moment to lose. The sacred marriage is about to unravel." Somewhat befuddled, Paranaya lifted the chalice to her lips and emptied the contents into her mouth. The lunar potion was electric, sickeningly sweet. She swallowed it in one gulp. "Now do exactly as I tell you. Lie directly beneath the symbols of the sun and moon etched on the sanctuary roof," the wise one said. "Lie on your back and turn your concentration inward, as you have done many times before. Then wait until I give you the signal to begin separation. Blood must feed the earth before you induce separation." "This isn't going to work," said Ida. "You dare to question me?" said the wise one asked, pointing to the golden labrys at her. "Remain silent and do as you're told." "But we're given her the blood of many a bull," Ida pushed on. "Much more than any human could offer. Why should anything less work?" "Quality is much more important than quantity, Ida," the wise one asserted. "She has revealed it to me in a dream. She wants mortal blood, the blood of our young Essenes." "Are you sure about this, Aletheia?" Paranaya asked, positioning herself on the ground before the statue of the goddess. "The oracle has served us well, and I am not one to doubt its integrity, but we have indeed seeded the ground with life force the past 2 seasons, without reprise. Her will is yet to be appeased." And our will is yet to come to fruition, Ida added. What has gotten into the both of you? The wise one said. You're supposed to be falling into a slumber, ready to be sucked into the vortices that will lead us to her the moment blade finds flesh. Dropping to her knees beside the stone table, Aletheia tore away the golden sheath that covered the Essene's member. She cupped it with her palm, using her fingers to stimulate the tip. Then she lowered her head and took him into her mouth, sucking on his erect phallus like a vacuum. The Essene squirmed in titillation as she swirled her tongue around him. Working herself up into a frenzied state, the wise one seemed oblivious to the severity of the quakes, which increased in magnitude. If anything, the quakes had done nothing but let loose a primitive rage, a lascivious drive from deep within her. They had supplanted her high senses, her sanity, and the intellectual reins of her consciousness. The temporary insanity which had seized her suddenly relinquished its hold. Aletheia pulled her head away from the Essene's shaft and scrambled to her feet. The white lilies on her breasts trembled as she snatched up the golden labrys from the ground. With a primitive cry that made Potaniah's skin crawl, the wise one retracted the axe above the Essene with one long, fluid motion. The Essene screamed. He powered his bound feet into her stomach before she could deliver the blow, knocking her backwards. "Stop, Aletheia!" Ida yelled. Aletheia was stoic, unwavering in her resolve to fertilize the earth with mortal blood. Dishevelled, she scurried to her feet and came rushing towards the Essene again, but Ida tackled her from behind before she could swing the axe down, wresting the sacrificial instrument from her hands. "Stop this!" "No!" The wise one clenched her teeth. "It's mine! Let go of it!" Ida yelled, powering a kick into her knee. The roar was getting louder, and the tussle between the two priestesses more violent, but Potaniah remained oblivious to both. She had already slipped into a self-induced trance, and was now ruminating in perfect solitude, waiting for her projection into the realm of the great Mother Goddess. Above her, the chunk of gypsum, upon which the symbol of reconciliation between the moon and the sun was etched, had already separated from the rest of the ceiling. Being synthesized of weaker material, it was designed to break off so that light from the sacred marriage could reach the sacrosanct chamber. Now it was precariously suspended above them, and would come crashing down at any minute. "The roof is going to collapse," said Ida. "We're going to die." "Not before the Essene does," the wise one remarked. "You'll have to get through me first, Aletheia," said Ida. Gladly. Rubble continued to rain down around them, but that didn't seem to bother Aletheia, who kept swinging the axe towards Ida. But the latter was equal to the task of retaliation. She dodged the assault by stepping sideways and then powering a kick into her assailant's arm. There was a loud shriek as the golden labrys went spinning off across the sanctuary. "You fool!" the wise one shrieked. "Look what you've done! Now we'll—" The chunk of gypsum that had come loose was suddenly airborne. Squealing, the priestesses dropped onto the ground, retracting their limbs and covering their heads in a protective pose that was somewhat reminiscent of a developing embryo. Their soul-wrenching screams were silenced by the force of the block as it crashed down on top of them. Directly overhead, the moon had eclipsed the sun.